All right, so I'm back. Both bands are set. Kind of whipped right through that one. It goes a lot faster when I'm not videoing. And I'm ready to sharpen these two bands. First thing I'm going to do is just make sure that my rock's profile right, because it has sharpened a few bands. Now, one thing I can tell you is right at the weld seam, a lot of times this one tooth with this weld seam is kind of has to be custom ground, which I had to do because it doesn't really line up with the rest. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the rock for profile. It looks like, I don't think I have a flashlight up here, but it looks like it's just maybe not touching up on the top. I'm going to go ahead and just glue up this tooth real quick. See where it's missing. I could probably just eyeball through it. But let's go ahead and fire it up and I'll see where it's missing. So yeah, I'll show you with the camera in a second. If I let this go because this grinder's kind of old, it'll kind of shake. And I don't have I gotta put a thing on this to hold it up like that, but if you look in, get the light better over here. My old shop lights. If you look in right now, hopefully it's showing up. You can see where it's still blue right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape that rock a tiny hair. I'll give you a view from over here. Yeah, it's not bad. And I'm going to get down on my hands and knees a little bit and see exactly what's going on. Actually, it looks to me like it is hitting up there. Let me try that one more time. Yeah, it is hitting all the way up. So what I'll do is I'll give you a better view, and I'm going to start rolling through these. You just see where this rock's not perfectly round. Either this rock's not perfectly round, or weird. Rock's not running super true. And I don't have a dial indicator set up here to be able to true it up, so I'm going to run through a few. Make sure you're not looking over my shoulder. See what you're looking at here. Yeah, that looks okay. Just get myself sitting here. There's a possibility that will chew up a little bit, but it looks like Looks like maybe it's not running perfectly true here. And I'm not going to mess with it right now. It'll still sharpen like this, so let's go ahead and fire it up and we'll whip through a few. Yeah, pretty good job. Clean up the whole gullet. Sometimes the spacing is a tiny bit off on these. And that was actually a pretty big hit there. I moved it quite a bit there. It's just barely kissing the front side of the tooth, if you can hear that. It's making all that noise because this is so high out of the clamp that it likes to wobble a little bit when it's in the sharpening. That's as much as it's kissing the face. All that other noise is in the gullet. Let me show you something. It's one of those subjects about why you set before you sharpen. And these are really, really crazy sharp. And I know if you haven't watched any of my videos, the final step here, if you really want them really sharp, is just to whip around the band and take the burr off the top of the tooth, which I do from the side, not from this angle, but that'll make them really, really crazy sharp. And you can do this whole band in about a minute and a half. You can do like 5, 6 of them at a time, pull it, 5, 6 of them at a time, pull it. One of the reasons why you want to set your band first is because when you sharpen, you knock a burr off the back side of this band. I've sharpened first and then gone to set. And what will happen with that burr is that burr on the backside will give you a false reading on your setting, as much as 3/1000ths. Now, 3/1000ths doesn't seem like a lot, but when you go out and you run this band in the wood, it's going to take that burr off right away. And then you're going to have an entire side of your band set 3/1000ths less than your other side. That's what you don't want. That's imbalance. If that makes sense. What you want on these bands to have them run straight and smooth and fast is you want them to be balanced. Robert Milton talks about the rooster tail that the band kicks out right at the edge of the kerf, right where the band is exiting the wood, the rooster tail that it kicks out of wood. If your band is 3/1000ths set less on one side, that side is going to cut less wood. The other side is going to cut more wood. Depending on which side that's on, if it was on the bottom, your band would cut the top side more efficiently and your band would want to rise. If it's on the top that's less, then your band was going to want to dive. If you nick something with your band and you only nick it on the bottom, like if you just barely nick one of your log stops, and I've done that, what you do is you wipe the set off that side of the band and then your band will want to rise. Also, and what's not talked about or that I don't hear talked about, but this is big in handsaw sharpening. I'm going to show you. I'm going to get you a good view here. Get into a little bit of tooth geometry, cutting geometry here. Can't go down much lower. How low can you go? So, okay, this is good. I'll show you right here. These are rip teeth. These rip teeth would be cutting in that direction. They'd be going through the log this way. For these rip teeth, if you sharpen them first and then set them, and this is going to be predicated on having to set them with having to set a lot of set. You sharpen them straight down. Okay, you come straight. Can you see that? Yeah, you come straight down the face of that tooth. I am sharpening the face of this tooth perpendicular to the travel of the band. So it's cut straight down. And it's perpendicular to the travel of the band. If you set it first and you bend, if you sharpen it first, you sharpen it straight down and then you bend this tooth out so that your teeth are like this. You will take that straight down angle and you will angle it. If it's one that's set like this one this way, you will angle that cut like this to the travel so that your angle of your tooth that you just sharpened nice and sharp is now pointed this way. And then the next one will be pointed that way. If you set first and sharpen second, you're grinding all your teeth parallel to the travel of the band. And that's going to help your band track straight. If you have one here's the face of your tooth like this. If you have one that's angled this way and one that's angled that way because you sharpened first and you set second and you bent the tooth over and angled that face like that. Now it's not going to be very much, and this is predicated on the fact that you put a lot of set in the band, but that's going to make your band do this. Because what's going to happen is your teeth on the left side now have got a shear angle on them so that they're cutting into the wood. If I can get my hand right, they're cutting into the wood like this in a curve. So instead of going straight, the teeth are angled like the tip of my fingers, and now they're cutting in and it's pulling the band. And it's very, very small amount, but what you're going to do is you're going to get a harmonic to it. That's going to make your band do this harmonically. Not very much. We're talking splitting hairs here, but that's what will happen if the face of this tooth is facing in that direction, and then the face of this tooth will be the opposite because this one's going that way. So the face of this tooth is facing that way, and then the face of this tooth is facing this way. We're talking about very small harmonics in a very, very fast moving band, but it's still there. And what will happen is as it's cutting, it'll start to get a harmonic to it and go woo, 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 like that. So that's another reason why you want to sharpen second, is so that you're grinding the face of these teeth parallel to the direction of travel. So I'm going to sharpen a few more and keep this to a short video here and make sure that you got a good view. And believe me, I know that this seems very slow, but you got to believe me when I tell you that, I can rip through these bands pretty quick like this. It doesn't take that long. Someday when I grow up and become a big boy, I'll get myself a fancy sharpener. But I can tell you this, what's more important than a fancy sharpener is understanding what you're doing when you're sharpening. So that gullet's clean. Let's go to the next one. And as it comes down, and now this one's kind of missing. There it is. It's just barely scraping the front. If you miss the face of that tooth, you can put a teeny, even on these good Oregon grinders, a teeny bit of side pressure on it to just clean the face up. Like right now it missed. So I'm just going to put a little bit of side pressure on it then clean out the gullet. This doesn't, I'm not going down at this very hard. Just making sure that it cleans the face of the tooth and then it cleans out the gullet. It's right now, barely touching the face. If I see it not do a good job on the face, then I'll just put a little side pressure on it. Grab the little nick in the tooth there and keep it back. I'm sharpening these at 7 degrees. Or grinding the rake angle to 7 degrees. Kill this, I'll show you this will shake right here if I don't hold on to this. Once it gets, now that, the shake is what I'm talking about in the harmonics in your band. So that harmonics is what I'm talking about with the band going like this. Now I'm taking the harmonics out by dampening it, dampening the harmonics. And that's what your guide blocks do on my thing, or your rollers on another saw. They dampen the harmonics so that you band. It's still going to do this, but it's going to keep getting kicked back by the guide blocks. So it's going to boom, 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 and it'll make it, you'll actually hear it in the noise of the band while it's cutting. Now it might do it really small, but you'll see it in the wood. So I want to show you my gullet profile here, and I'm going to show you how to take the burr off the tooth real quick. So you can see all my gullets. That's what my rock profile is hand ground to. I ground this rock by hand. And if I go down, you can't really see it that good from that angle because they're not low enough, but what I can tell you is that that rock is that gullet profile. So it does take out the gullets. And what you want to do, let me get in here from the side. I wonder if I could get you a good down angle here. It's going to be close. I'll try to get you in like this. I'm going to do a couple of tops. You focused in on that. I wish I could get that out of the way. That's better if I keep that down. So what I do afterwards, and I don't do this on every band, and I've cut with them without it, is I take this diamond hone, and you could use anything. You could use a stone, you could use a regular file, it doesn't really matter. But what's happened on these teeth is that now there's a burr. It's catching my fingernail right here. By grinding this face, there's a burr on the top. If I could, I actually just ripped that burr off. And they'll get ripped off pretty quick in the wood. The problem with ripping them off is that when they rip off, they'll create a very jagged edge because they'll tear off. What you can do is you can go around with a hone. I like to do it from this backside here because I can see the top of the tooth to see where I'm hitting, and just hone it off like that. And what I can see from my angle, I don't know if you can see this if I move you without catching all the shit on the floor. What you can see from my angle, if you see the top of these teeth now, see that little silver line? That little silver line right there is what you're looking for. Now there's no burr on the top, so I can feel with my finger there's no burr. The burr is gone. And now this tooth is orders of magnitude sharper. And I mean that. I mean, I don't know how to quantify it, but what I can tell you is that, you know, it's just peeling my fingernail off. And I've done this both ways. When that burr is laying up over the top, it almost doesn't really want to grab your fingernail. When you go through with a diamond hone and just wipe that burr off the top real quick, and it only takes that much, you know, just a couple of swipes, it is way, way sharper. And I believe that this is going to help these bands stay sharp longer because you're not tearing the burr off. That when that burr, you're going to have to imagine this would be when that burr tears off, kind of like in a chainsaw chain, as it rips off, it rips some of the metal with it and it creates a jagged edge. Now that jagged edge is still sharp, but it's sawtooth. And what'll happen is that will dull and round over fairly fast. And when I say fast, it depends on what wood you're cutting and all sorts of other variables. But I believe by doing this, this band will stay sharp longer. And like I said, to go through this whole band and do like 6, 7, 8 teeth and then pull it, and then 6, 7, 8 teeth and then pull it, it takes me like 1 minute. It's only a few swipes per teeth. And I'm a little undecided on whether I'm going to do it every time. When I get into production milling, I don't know whether it's going to be worth my time. But for right now, in my testing stages, you know, this makes these. I can't tell you that. You're gonna have to believe me on this. I can't tell you the difference between how these teeth that I just did that to grab my skin and these teeth over here don't. Okay? These teeth over here, I can pull my hand across them. They're sharp. They're like, you know, that cat claw sharp. These are prickly sharp, but they're not like these. These won't let my hand go. And I'm being serious. I'm not making this up. These will not let my hand go. These, I can pull my hand across them. These you can't. These are grabbing my skin. They are orders of magnitude sharper when you wipe that burr off in that one little quick motion. Like I said, you don't need a diamond hone. You can do this with anything. You know, a small slipstone. You could do it with a regular file, hopefully something that's a fine file. I'm doing it with the coarse side. This has got a fine side, which is very fine, and a coarse side. I'm doing it with the coarse side, and I just hit it a couple of swipes until I can see that little silver line on the top, and it's done. I like to do it on these teeth over here and have them straight away from me so I can see what I'm doing. But if you were sharpening bands for people like Mr. Robert, I don't believe this would be worth your time. But I can promise you that when you grind these teeth, no matter what method you use, when you grind these teeth, you are putting a burr. When you grind the face of this tooth, you are rolling a burr up over the top that hooks backwards like this. So it grinds the face, and the burr comes up over the top and hooks backwards. So it's facing backwards. It's not facing into the cut. That's what I'm taking off. And you can see it grabbed my nail right here. You hear that? That's the burr. I can probably, let me see if I can take you out and get you a close-up. I've showed this in other videos. So, let me see if I can get it to focus. As AV would say, focus, you fuck. Let's see, I didn't file that one. Come on, focus. Come on. I'm trying, guys. I really am. Right in the dead center of the camera. Right at the top of that tooth, you can see the burr sticking up. It's really small, but you can see it. And that's going to be on every tooth. If I could just like have like get a great close-up of it. Oh, I think I had it there for a second. You can see it right there. It's grab my finger. It's right on the top of that tooth. Right at my fingernail. I can flick it off probably. No, it's grabbed me pretty good right now. But that's the burr. I think I got it. That's the burr that you're trying to wipe off. Because now when you roll that burr the other way, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, it's just a whole different ball game. Even doing that without the file and doing it with my fingernail, I can still feel it though. It's still there. Yep, still there. But that's what I'm testing right now to see if it's even worth my time. Cut with a couple bands without doing that. They seem to cut okay. And I have one band that is like tuned up that I'm going to run tomorrow. That's been set, sharpened, and deburred. And I want to see how it runs. I should notice a noticeable difference in the sound. And I will see how long it lasts. But thanks for hanging out. I'm going to get back at these and see if I can wipe through them before somebody wants to take a nap here and I'm making all kinds of noise. So have a great day. Thanks.